สวัสดีค่ะขอต้อนรับเข้าสู่การอบรมครูผู้สอนภาษาอังกฤษซึ่งเป็นความร่วมมือระหว่างมูลนิธิการศึกษาทางไกลผ่านดาวเทียมสถานทูตสหรัฐประจำประเทศไทยบริษัท TOT จำกัดมหาชนและ SIT Graduate Institute ในหัวข้อ Learning to Read, Reading to Learn, Reading as a Tool for Lifelong Learning ซึ่งครั้งนี้เป็นครั้งที่ 7 นะคะผู้วิทยากรผู้ให้การอบรมในครั้งนี้นะคะคือ Professor Margie Anderson ซึ่งขณะนี้อยู่ที่SIT Graduate Institute ที่ Vermont ประเทศสหรัฐอเมริกา Welcome to the English Language Teacher Training co-organized by the Distance Learning Foundation, the Regional English Language Office of the American Embassy Bangkok, represented by Kun John Skagel, Regional English Language Officer, TOT Public Company Limited, and SIT Graduate Institute in Vermont, the United States. This series is called Learning to Read, Reading to Learn, Reading as a Tool for Lifelong Learning. And our guest lecturer is Professor Margie Anderson from SIT Graduate Institute, Vermont. Good morning, Professor Margie.
Hello. Sawadika. And greetings to everybody that I have seen already face-to-face in Bangkok and now am seeing from far away in Vermont. So I am happy to see you. I saw you in the audience, you have to wave to me because I see you there and I remember you and I remember your faces and I see you next time. So I'm so happy that we're actually together in this way. It's so different than my being standing there and walking around and bothering you, but I'm here together even from the distance and I'm happy to be here. So if I could have, please, the first slide, the first one past the initial one, the one that says, hello from Vermont. There we go. Thank you. So let me just run through this quickly and we'll let then Ajahn Naraporn do the translation. Just quickly, in today's session, this is session 7 of 10 sessions. So we're just looking a little bit at what we have already seen together. We've covered a lot of territory already. And we're going to look at a real news story from Vermont because I couldn't resist. And it will allow us to look at, review some of the reading skills that you've already looked at with me. And then I've asked, remember last time at the end of session 6, I asked for you to try some things. And the idea is that you don't have to, it doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to have big successes, but what did you try? How did it go? And so I'm hoping that both from Bangkok and Hua Hin, we might have at least maybe 3 people who are willing to share something that they tried. And it's especially good, it's great to try something that worked, and it's also good to try something that didn't work. So we're going to look at that kind of as a review of the session 6. And then we want to move into a little bit the idea of extensive reading, which is a very popular idea in reading in a second language these days. And then if we have time, and I'm not sure about that because I look at the schedule and it looks kind of packed, we might look at learner awareness. So Ajahn Naraporn, go ahead and why don't you review the overview for everybody, please.
ค่ะอาจารย์มารีก็บอกว่าสำหรับในเซสชันนี้นะคะส่วนหนึ่งของเซสชันก็อยากจะให้ท่านอาจารย์นะคะที่เข้ารับการอบรมกับเรานะคะทั้งที่กรุงเทพและหัวหินเนี่ยได้มาเล่าสู่กันฟังนะคะว่าได้นำเทคนิคการสอนการอ่านนะคะซึ่งเราได้รับการอบรมจากอาจารย์มาร์ตี้เนี่ยครั้งที่1ถึง6เนี่ยนะคะไปใช้ในการสอนภาษาอังกฤษของอาจารย์บ้างหรือยังนะคะใช้ activity ไหนไปแล้วก็เป็นยังไงได้ผลไม่ได้ผลอย่างไรนะคะ ก็เดี๋ยวคงจะได้ฟังจากท่านอาจารย์แล้วก็ในอีกส่วนหนึ่งก็คือว่าเซสชันนี้นะคะจะเน้นเรื่องextensive reading นะคะซึ่งอาจารย์ก็บอกว่าเป็นกลวิธีหนึ่งนะคะในการที่จะสนับสนุนส่งเสริมให้นักเรียนของเราเนี่ยได้ฝึกการใช้ภาษาอังกฤษให้มากขึ้นนะคะก็โดยการเรียนรู้โดยการใช้กิจกรรมที่เรียกว่า extensive reading นะคะซึ่งเดี๋ยวเราจะดูกันว่าจะเป็นยังไงนะคะค่ะแล้วก็ถ้ามีเวลาอาจารย์ก็จะกล่าวถึงlearner awareness นะคะคือผู้เรียนเนี่ยนะคะควรจะรู้อะไรควรจะระมัดระวังอะไรนะคะควรจะตระหนักถึงอะไรปัจจัยใดบ้างนะคะในการเรียนทักษะการอ่านค่ะ
Okay. As always, I'm going to be asking you to work with the people who sit beside you. So I can't be as bossy as I usually am. So maybe I'll ask Ajahn Naraporn to help you. But you should be looking around. You should find somebody near you who's going to be your partner. Either somebody sitting at the same table or somebody sitting across from the table. So you're going to have a partner for the next step, which is an article that actually happened recently. We saw it recently in the Brattleboro paper. So if I could please have, I think it's that you'll go to the next slide and then you go one more slide because the next slide is just a link. So 2 slides where you have, there you go. Thank you. So you see there's this headline, gas pump hit, falls over onto car at 7-Eleven. Okay, with your partner, now don't read ahead because you have the text, you have to not cheat, so don't cheat, but talk to your partner at the table and what do you think when you hear this, when you read this? Gas pump hit, falls over onto car at 7-Eleven. What do you imagine? What picture do you have in your mind? And what do you think happened? So chat with your partners and we will start with the group in Hua Hin for a little just brainstorming. Remember that when you're reading, you don't have to be right. And at this point, guessing is perfect. That's what we're asking you to do, is to guess. So talk to your friends for a couple of minutes and then we'll check in to see what your guesses are. You can use these questions. What do you imagine when you read this title? What picture do you have in your mind? What do you think happened? Take a couple of minutes and then we'll check in.
ค่ะสำหรับสไลด์นี้นะคะก็ขึ้นด้วยเหมือนกับหัวข้อข่าวนะคะที่บอกว่า gas pump hit falls over onto car at 7-Eleven นะคะซึ่งเห็นแค่ headline ตรงนี้หัวข้อข่าวตรงนี้นะคะก็อาจารย์ลองนึกดูนะคะว่าอาจารย์นึกวาดภาพอะไรนะคะเห็นภาพอะไรจากข่าวที่แค่หัวข้อข่าวแค่นั้นนะคะแล้วก็คิดว่าเกิดอะไรขึ้นนะคะค่ะอาจารย์ลองคุยกับเพื่อนข้างๆอาจารย์นะคะค่ะดูเฉพาะหัวข้อข่าวก่อนค่ะสัก3 นาทีนะคะ
Naraporn, whenever you're ready. So let's check in.
สไลด์4ขึ้นนะคะสไลด์ที่4ค่ะ Yeah, well, I let them discuss for about 3 minutes, I think, yeah. And
Okay.
I think you can check the answers now.
Okay. Okay, so now or do you want 3 more minutes? Is it okay now, Naraporn?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's just start because at this point, let's go to Hua Hin first because at this point we're just taking guesses, so it doesn't matter, and we're just making the predictions and looking at the kind of what the headline tells you about a text. So let's see what Hua Hin has to offer.
Good morning.
Hi, good to see you. Hello.
From Hua Hin, when I read the topic, gas pump hit falls over onto car at 7-Eleven. My partner and I think that there might be an accident. A car either hit a gas pump, and then there might be an explosion. Something might be on fire, and somebody might get injured. This is what we think.
Yeah, great. So you've generated all kinds of predictions and you're using a lot of prior knowledge. I mean, so this is the point about how every time we ask our students to read something, they're going to bring everything they know to bear. So you know things already about gas pumps and flammable objects, and so you've brought this into your understanding of what this article might say. So
Yeah.
that's really an excellent example of how you do that. Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Anything else from Hua Hin? Another perspective or another analysis, or should we go to Bangkok?
มีอะไรนะคะหัวหิน
มีค่ะ
Maybe go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, we
Naraporn.
have one more idea.
Okay, in my opinion, when I read this headline, I think that there was an accident happened at maybe the gas station, and the car maybe is broken or damaged by the gas pump, like her idea. Yeah, I think it is an accident.
Some kind of an accident, and something was damaged as a result.
Yep.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're onto the right track. And again, you're using your metacognitive skills. You're really bringing a lot of awareness of what might happen.
Yep.
And what I realized when I read this article is that I don't think at 7-Elevens in Thailand there are always gas pumps. Sometimes, but not always. Is that true?
Yeah, right.
Right. So that's an interesting thing. That's a cultural influence. Sometimes there'll be a gas pump, sometimes not.
Right, you're right.
Okay, well, anyway, thank you. So Naraporn, you want to give a little translation of that?
Well, I couldn't catch the last point, yeah, about the culture, yeah, because I was talking to John about the PowerPoint.
It's
Yeah.
okay. It's okay. I'll just mention quickly Naraporn, and you can include it in your translation. It was just a small thing that noticing that that 7-Elevens in the United States sometimes have gas pump in Bangkok, in Thailand. Sometimes they have gas pumps, sometimes they don't, which is also true in the U.S. So it's just the point that, you know, this is a 7-Eleven with a gas pump, but that's not going to happen at every 7-Eleven you see. So that was an interesting perspective.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's different here because you say that sometimes 7-Eleven in the United States has a gas pump, but for us, gas pump has 7-Eleven, right? Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's
Usually,
right. That's right.
yeah, that's why I was confused. Yeah, because you know, usually our gas pumps, you know, different brands, you know, they have different brands of groceries in there, right? And 7-Eleven is just one. Yeah. So our
Yeah.
gas pump really has a grocery or convenience store, you know, just like 7-Eleven. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I actually don't know anyway. So go ahead and translate that. We'll go on to the article.
โอเค โอเค ค่ะสำหรับแค่ headline ที่เราเห็นนะคะ ท่านอาจารย์ทางหัวหินก็บอกว่าอ่านแค่นี้นะคะ gas pump hit falls over onto car at 7-Eleven ก็จะแปลว่านึกภาพออกเลยว่าจะต้องเกิด accident นะคะอุบัติเหตุขึ้นแน่ๆนะคะแล้วก็ในปั๊มน้ำมันนะคะแล้วก็มีอะไรเกี่ยวกับ 7-Eleven ตรงนี้เราก็ทราบเพราะว่าเรามีร้านสะดวกซื้อ 7-Eleven อยู่ทั่วประเทศเลยนะคะเพราะนั้นเราก็เห็น7-11นี่เราก็รู้เลยว่าคือร้านสะดวกซื้อนะคะแล้วก็อีกอย่างหนึ่งอาจารย์มาร์ตี้บอกว่าแล้วก็ของที่อเมริกาเนี่ยนะคะ 7-Eleven เนี่ยบางแห่งเนี่ยก็จะมีปั๊มน้ำมันอยู่นะคะคล้ายๆว่าเขาทำปั๊มด้วยนะคะขายแล้วก็อย่างเช่นว่าคนก็ไปเติมน้ำมันด้วยขายของด้วยนะคะแต่ดิฉันก็บอกว่าแต่ของเราเนี่ยปั๊มน้ำมันเนี่ยมี 7-Eleven อยู่ข้างในหมายความว่าเป็นหนึ่งในร้านสะดวกซื้อใช่ไหมคะทุกปั๊มน้ำมันเดี๋ยวนี้มีร้านสะดวกซื้อประจำอยู่ในปั๊มนะคะนั่นก็เป็นอาจารย์ก็บอกเป็น culture point อันหนึ่งนะซึ่งเราก็อาจจะคุยกับนักเรียนได้นะคะหรือว่าเรียนรู้กันได้ค่ะ
Okay, so I don't know exactly what we have on the next screen, but if you will give me the next slide, please. And then we might want the next one right after that. So go right ahead to the one that talks about reading.
ค่ะสไลด์ที่6เลยค่ะ the other one right
Yeah, the next one. And you're going to have this in your handouts as well. It starts the article. So this is an actual news article from Friday, June 12th. And what I'd like to do is I would like to have us read this out loud. So would somebody from Bangkok be willing to read this first slide? Just anybody, a volunteer. Any brave person. Remember, we always need brave people.
Okay, we've got one here.
Oh, thank you for being brave. Okay, go ahead and just read it.
Okay. Friday, June 12, West Battlebirds. At about 6 p.m. Tuesday, the Battleborough Fire Department responded to a report of a small fire at 7-Eleven on Veteran Avenue in West Battleborough. Upon arrival, they found that a gas pump had been hit by a car, fell over and landed on top of another car. Nobody was injured.
Yeah, thank you. What a story. Hi, thank you for reading. Okay, how about the next, let's go to the next slide and have another volunteer, please, to read the next bit.
ขอสไลด์ที่7ค่ะ
Another brave volunteer from Bangkok. And then the next part, we're going to go to Hua Hin and find a brave volunteer there. So be ready. But this one, somebody from Bangkok, please.
ค่ะทางหัวหินมีคนอ่านไหมคะไม่ได้ยินเสียงค่ะหรือทาง
Oh, thank you. That's great.
The area, including the road, was engulfed in a thick cloud of white extinguishing power that was released as soon as the fire began. The canopy over all gas pumps in Vermont have dry power extinguishing systems that work by both manual operation by heat. Activate sensor, said Chief Michael Buckles of the Battenboro Fire Department. They can make quite a mess, he said.
Okay, thank you. That was beautiful. All right, anybody want to read the third section from Bangkok, maybe?
ค่ะเชิญเลยค่ะ
Bokosi said the fire was likely the result of a small amount of gas that was trapped in the pumping when the gas pump was lifted from its island. It's not like there was a big gas spill because the gas automatically shuts down if the pump is shut off, Boskosi explained.
Great. Great. Thank you so much. Hi. And then somebody want to read the next? I mean, it goes on. Let me actually just read the last bit because then we can move on to the activity. So we have this whole article where there's all kinds of information. I don't know if you're tracking this. This is a very simple reading task, but it's filled with information. And so we're going to move on to just a little scanning review in a minute. Let me just finish off the last bit of it, and then we can do the scanning activity that I have in mind. He added, this is this guy named Bukazi, that the 7-Eleven clerk immediately shut down the electricity to all pumps. The maintenance crew for 7-Eleven arrived at the scene to cap the plumbing to the pump that was broken off and secure any loose wiring or plumbing so that the store could reopen. And then if we go to the next slide, he says, any gas company chain, all of them, have environmental cleanup crews that work on the pumps and know systems, Bukazi said. We're on to the next slide, please. The last fire engine returned to the department around 11:30 that night, said Bukazi, which he said would have been around the same time that cleanup was completed. So you have all of you who are in either Bangkok or Hua Hin have this whole text in a handout. And those of you who are watching on television have seen it. Maybe we can just, whoever is manning the PowerPoint can just keep scanning back and forth between the slides. But what I want you to remember now is, all right, if this were a text, it's a short text, but it's a complex text. And if you were using this with students, what would be your scanning questions? Okay, so we already did a skimming at the beginning where you got to think about what do you think this article is going to be about. Now you have all this information, different people, different systems. What kinds of scanning questions would you offer your students that would help them develop better reading skills with this relatively simple text from a newspaper? All right, so go ahead, Ajahn Naraporn, and translate. The task is that we're hoping that they're going to develop some scanning and guiding questions, which we'll see on a subsequent slide, but right now it's just to revisit this text with that in mind.
ค่ะอาจารย์ก็สรุปนะคะว่า ข่าวอันนี้เนี่ยนะคะก็ใช้ฝึกได้ทั้งทักษะ skimming แล้วก็ scanning นะคะ skimming เราก็ฝึกไปแล้วนะคะคือเราเห็นแค่ news headline นะคะแล้วเราก็ลองคาดเดาดูซิว่าข่าวทั้งหมดเนี่ยเป็นเรื่องเกี่ยวกับอะไรพอเห็นภาพไหมนะคะซึ่งเราก็พอจะเดากันออกว่าเกิดอุบัติเหตุขึ้นนะคะที่ปั๊มน้ำมันทีนี้มาถึงพอเราอ่านเนื้อข่าวทั้งหมดแล้วเนี่ยนะคะอาจารย์มาร์ตี้ก็บอกว่าเราลองดูซิว่าลองคิดคำถามนะคะที่จะฝึกทักษะ scanning นะคะ scanning อาจารย์คงจำได้นะคะคือการทำไมคะlocate หาเฉพาะคำตอบที่เราต้องการใช่ไหมคะคำถามนั้นก็จะถามเฉพาะสิ่งที่เราต้องการนะคะเป็นจุดๆไปนะคะซึ่งอันนี้เนี่ยอาจารย์ก็ลองนึกหาคำถามนะคะเดี๋ยวเราจะกลับไปดูเนื้อหาของข่าวนี้ใหม่อีกครั้งหนึ่งนะคะขอสไลด์กลับไปนะคะที่ตั้งแต่สไลด์ที่6นะคะไล่มาเรื่อยๆนะคะช้าๆค่ะแล้วอาจารย์ก็ลองคิดคำถาม scanning นะคะ so Marty you're giving them a few minutes to think of the scanning questions right
Exactly. Guiding questions or questions that they would ask people to try to find their way into the text to understand more.
โอเคค่ะค่ะแล้วก็ guiding questions ด้วยนะคะก็คือคำถามที่จะนำผู้อ่านเนี่ยเข้ามาสู่เรื่องนะคะว่าจะเป็นเรื่องเกี่ยวกับอะไรนะคะแล้วก็ scanning questions ด้วยคำถามที่ถามเฉพาะเจาะจงค่ะให้เวลาสัก3 หรือ 4 นาทีนะคะอาจารย์คนละสักคำถาม2 คำถามก็พอค่ะ
Ajahn Narapon, should we check in to see what people are generating in terms of ideas? What I'm thinking is I would love to hear from both a few people in Bangkok and then also the groups in Hua Hin, just some of the questions that you would ask students if they were trying to understand the meaning of this text. What are some questions you would ask them as scanning questions? So maybe we can start with 2 or 3 groups in Bangkok and then also check in with Hua Hin to see if there's anything else.
ค่ะขออาจารย์ทางกรุงเทพก่อนดีไหมคะค่ะคำถามค่ะ
As always, we need brave people.
yeah ค่ะได้แล้วค่ะทางกรุงเทพเชิญค่ะ
That's the first question. Okay. When did the accident happen?
Great. Yeah. There you go. There's a date on the article that tells you when it was reported, but that's a very good question. When did the event actually happen? Great. Great. Could be yesterday, could be the same day, could be another day. But that's a reading task. Absolutely. Great.
ค่ะมีคำถามอื่นไหมคะสมมติค่ะเชิญค่ะตรงกลางเลยค่ะอาจารย์
I think for this passage, I think it is possible for us to apply the WH questions, like as what she answered a while ago. It's about asking about when. So there will be the follow-up would be where. Yeah, like okay, where
Yeah.
did this thing happen, or where is the accident occurred? Thank you.
Right. Thank you. Yeah. When, where, Good. What else? Another one from, let's have 2 more questions from Bangkok and then we'll go and check in with Hua Hin.
ค่ะขอที่กรุงเทพอีก2ท่านค่ะคนละ1คำถามข้างหน้าก่อนเลยค่ะเชิญค่ะอาจารย์ดารัน
Okay, my group that we think that it should be how about the fire security system at the gas station?
So you're asking how does that system work? Is that what you mean by how about?
Yes.
What do you think about how that system works?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Great. Yeah.
ค่ะขออีก1คำถามค่ะค่ะเชิญค่ะ
Anybody else from Bangkok before we go to
Yeah,
Hua
one
Hin?
more.
Okay.
Why did the gas pump fall over onto the car?
Again please
Yeah. This is an
Why
important
did the
question.
pump fall over onto the car?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a very important question. It's actually a question I have myself when I look at this story. So that's great. What made it happen that way? So in a sense, that's also a bit of a critical thinking question because we have to look at, what led up to that moment. And it's not entirely clear from the story exactly how that happened. So that's also a very important question. Interesting too for the students. So before we go to Hua Hin, you want to summarize that, Narapon?
ค่ะคำถาม4คำถามนะคะของทางกรุงเทพคำถามแรกคือ when did this accident happen คำถามที่2คือ where นะคะ where did this accident happen number 3 how does the fire system work and number 4 why did the gas pump fall over onto the car
Okay, thank you. Anything else from Hua Hin in terms of questions for guiding or scanning, questions to get people engaged.
เปิดแล้วค่ะได้ยินไหมโอเค Hello How many
Hi.
people have injured in this case How many people have injured in this case
Right. So you're asking, and what's interesting is you're asking questions. I believe that the article answered your question, but this is would be a very good question for students because they would have to read carefully to understand the answer. The reason I say that is I'm pretty sure that the article said at the beginning there were no injuries. Nobody was injured. Yeah. But this is what makes it such a good question for your students. Because that's just a little line, it's actually a small line at the end of the first paragraph. So this is a great question for students. They have to read very carefully to know the answer to this. So that's excellent. Great. Is there another question that you would ask about the text?
I think that's it ค่ะ we have only one break
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. Okay, what's interesting for me is that there's really so much within a very small text that we could work with. We didn't even talk about the many things that we touched on in the first 6 sessions we did. We didn't touch on vocabulary, we didn't touch on grammatical structures, we didn't touch on other readings about people running into things at a 7-Eleven shop, like a narrow reading perspective. But just give you a chance to revisit the richness of a small text. And this is just a text that I found in my local newspaper last week. So these texts, again, reminding ourselves that the texts we can use with our students really do exist everywhere. So before we move on to a little bit of sharing, this is the time when you are going to tell us what you've been doing. I'll let Ajahn Naraporn just translate that last bit. And then we're going to go on to find out some of your experiments with these ideas in your own classrooms.
ค่ะก็จากคำถามนะคะที่ท่านอาจารย์ทั้งที่กรุงเทพและหัวหินถามนะคะก็จะมีลักษณะคำถามที่เป็น scanning นะคะแล้วคำถามที่อย่างเช่นคำถามของที่ท่านอาจารย์ที่หัวหินนะที่ถามว่า how many people were injured นี่นะคะซึ่งอาจารย์มาตี้ก็คอมเมนต์ว่าเป็นคำถามที่ดีมากๆเลยเพราะว่าเท่ากับว่านักเรียนเนี่ยจะต้องอ่านอย่างระมัดระวังนะคะค่อนข้างจะละเอียดเพราะว่าจริงๆแล้วในเรื่องบอกว่า nobody was injured ใช่ไหมคะไม่มีใครบาดเจ็บนะคะเพราะนั้นถ้าเขาอ่านผ่านๆแล้วก็เห็นว่า accident เนี่ยมันก็มีระเบิดมีอะไรเนี่ยนะคะไฟไหม้เนี่ยอาจจะคือเขาอาจจะตอบไม่ถูกก็ได้นะคะซึ่งอันนี้เป็นคำถามที่ดีมากๆแล้วก็อีกคำถามหนึ่งที่ทางกรุงเทพถามเมื่อกี้นะคะคำถามสุดท้ายของทางกรุงเทพที่ถามว่าทำไมนะคะแก๊สน้ำถึงได้ตกไปบนรถเนี่ยนะคะซึ่งตรงนั้นก็เหมือนกันอาจารย์บอกว่าไม่ได้บอกในข่าวอย่างชัดเจนก็เท่ากับว่าเราก็ต้องใช้จินตนาการของเราใช่ไหมคะใช้การคาดเดานะคะดูเหตุดูผลดูหลักฐานดูอะไรนะคะเพื่อที่จะเดาว่าเกิดอะไรขึ้นนะคะซึ่งตรงนี้ก็เท่ากับเป็นคำถามที่ทำให้นักเรียนเนี่ยคิดนอกกรอบคิดต่อออกไปต่อยอดออกไปนะคะซึ่งก็เป็นการพัฒนา creativity อย่างหนึ่งนะคะแล้วก็อาจารย์ก็บอกว่าจะเห็นว่าเท็กซ์ที่อาจารย์นำมาเนี่ยแม้ว่าจะเป็นข่าวสั้นๆก็จริงนะคะจากในหนังสือพิมพ์ท้องถิ่นของที่อาจารย์อยู่ที่เวอร์มอนต์ก็จริงนะคะแต่อาจารย์บอกว่ามันมี richness นะคะ richness of a small text ก็คือว่าคือมีอะไรอยู่มากมายใน text นั้นซึ่งเราจะมาใช้ได้ในการที่จะมานำใช้เป็นแบบฝึกหัดเป็น activity เป็นบทเรียนให้นักเรียนเราฝึกการอ่านนะคะแล้วก็แสดงให้เห็นว่าอาจารย์บอกว่า text เนี่ยนะคะมีอยู่ทุกคนทุกแห่งนะคะเราสามารถที่จะเลือกตรงไหนมาใช้เพื่อที่จะมาทำเป็นแบบฝึกหัดฝึกให้นักเรียนเราเพิ่มเติมนอกเหนือจากหนังสือเรียนของเราได้นะคะค่ะ
Great.
ค่ะ
Thank you.
ขอบคุณค่ะ
Thank you.
อาจารย์
Thank you.
ค่ะ
Thank you. Okay, thank you so much. As always, I'm so impressed with how much, even though I don't understand Thai, I feel like when Ajahn Naraporn speaks, I somehow feel like I do understand Thai. And she offers so much more to everything that we're doing. I hope we all appreciate her contributions because they are so fantastic. So thank you, Naraporn, for everything you offer. So I want to find out now, we had an assignment for today, and that was that you were going to pick one or two things from the sessions 1 through 6 where you would either experiment or try something new, or you're just going to, exactly, here we are. What ideas have you tried? And we're really offering the next chunk of time really to hear from as many people as want to share. So we're not going to rush this time. I'm really excited to hear what happened when you tried some new things with reading in your classes. And we want to hear what worked, but also things that didn't work so well. And we're very excited to hear from you. So perhaps let's start in Bangkok to see who would like to share over there. And then we'll move on to Hua Hin afterwards.
ค่ะอาจารย์มาร์ตี้ก็อยากให้ท่านอาจารย์นะคะทั้งที่กรุงเทพและหัวหินเนี่ยได้มาเล่าให้ฟังนะคะว่าได้นำเทคนิคหรือว่ากิจกรรมใดนะคะที่เราได้เรียนไปจากเซสชันที่1ถึง6นะคะไปใช้ทดลองใช้ในการสอนในชั่วโมงภาษาอังกฤษแล้วบ้างนะคะแล้วก็ผลเป็นอย่างไรค่ะได้ผลไม่ได้ผลยังไงนะคะอาจารย์มีอะไรมาเล่าให้ฟังบ้างไหมคะเชิญอาจารย์ทางกรุงเทพก่อนค่ะ
So anybody, we're looking for brave volunteers.
We have the first volunteer here. Yeah.
Oh, excellent. Great. Hello.
Hi, Marty. Okay, it's nice to meet you again on conference.
Good to see you.
Okay. I'm a teacher from the north of Thailand, and for my ideas, at the beginning of each semester of each year, okay, I start teaching reading. I think that before start teaching reading, I would like to present you and all of our friends about reading habit first, and after that we will keep going about teaching reading. So this is, for example, that I have got from my school. Okay. Okay, first of all, my topic for reading habit is about my best book. I bring some of my best book that some of my friends bought for me, or some I took from any place, even in Thailand or all over the or many countries, something like that. But most of those our friends bought it for me. So I took some books to my student in the class like this. Okay, can you see them? Okay, this just some of the book that I bring into my classroom. I try to let my student share them to have a look and read all the pictures and all the stories, something like that. And after that, I put the guideline like this, activity, my best book. Those are my best books. So I would like my students to see that, and any books that they can read or they can find. And I put the outline like this, like number one, what is the name of the book? Where did you get it? How many pages are there? What is your best book about? Or why do you like it? You have to share the ideas, and then I let the student create his or her best book, even in Thai books or foreign books, something like that, and create by using the guideline that I have give them as you have a look before. So like this is the best book, just for example, like this. This cartoon books in Thai, Maha Sanuk, okay, Khai Hua Lo and some that just share you quickly, okay, yeah. Let them critical thinking and create their idea and integrate about the artwork as well with. And this is the books, like an English book. Okay, just some เอาชีวิตรอดในอเมริกา The name of my best book is เอาชีวิตรอด in America, surviving in America, something like that. And then, okay, after that, I let my students try to think about their best book and show and try to work in group work in the class, try to do some activities with the grouping work, something like that.
Yeah.
Or sometimes they love to read like outside the class. I call it outside activity outside the classes. Okay, like something like this. I let them read the books. Okay, and let them show their critical thinking about that. Okay, what do you think about? Each group would like to think about the books. Some classes I do like group working and create that. If you have 10 or 15 something like that about books, how you create like a group work in like a bookseller, like work in library, like use book shop, or like a book show or something like that in each group and present the idea. Okay, inside or outside the class, something like this. This is group. And okay, you see that? You see their faces when the students like to work outside the class much more than in the classroom. And after that, if I have more time, I will let them try to create the idea in the paper or like a report, something like that. And this is the evaluation that it makes us to learn about English more, and it makes us fun. When I study English, it makes us love English more. Okay, so thank you.
Thanks very much. You know, what I love, thank you so much. There's a number of things I want to comment, and it looks to me like Hua Hin is getting set up for a presentation, so maybe we'll go back and forth. You know, we'll go to Hua Hin next, and then back to Bangkok. That gives people time. A few things I want to comment about what you've just done. One is, I really appreciate when the teacher brings in her or his best books. This idea of, here are the books I love to read, because we know that if a teacher is inspired by reading, if the teacher reads a lot, if the teacher talks about reading, it's going to help to inspire the students to read more. So even just by the role modeling, which we talked about in the earlier sessions, you know, the creating the culture of reading. So already that's there. I also love the idea of the, you know, that the students get to create their own pages. And I am always amazed. I will never stop being impressed by the beautiful artwork that students do. So this idea of that they can be writing about a book, but then they're making a beautiful illustration to go with it is a wonderful thing. And then, as you said at the end, is when students feel like reading books, talking about the books that have inspired them, sharing that with other people. That whole process is really important and makes a big difference in terms of, again, creating a culture of reading, but also just supporting the students as they're reading. So that was a great example of some activities that you have done. Excellent. Thank you. Let's hear from somebody from Hua Hin, then we're going to come back to Bangkok. We're not done with Bangkok yet, but it looked to me like people were getting set up in Hua Hin. What is something that you have done that you feel has been working for you?
For that, perhaps I'd like to sum up what
Oh, yes, please. Oh, sorry.
in Bangkok.
Please do.
Yeah. ค่ะสำหรับท่านที่นำเสนอนะคะที่กรุงเทพนะคะอาจารย์ก็ให้นำภาพมาให้ดูด้วยนะคะคืออาจารย์ได้ทำกิจกรรมโดยที่อันหนึ่งเนี่ยเป็นสิ่งซึ่งอาจารย์มาร์ตี้บอกว่าดีมากเลยนะคะคือว่าอาจารย์เนี่ยนำภาพของหนังสือนะคะที่อาจารย์ชอบมากที่สุดนะคะคือ Teachers Best Books เนี่ยไปให้นักเรียนดูนะคะซึ่งตรงนี้เนี่ยอาจารย์มาร์ตี้บอกสำคัญแล้วก็เราจะพูดในรายละเอียดต่อไปเพราะว่าการที่เราจะไปบอกนักเรียนบอกว่าต้องอ่านนะต้องมีเวลาว่างต้องหยิบหนังสือขึ้นมาอ่านแต่ครูไม่ได้ทำเป็นตัวอย่างเนี่ยนะคะก็คงไม่เกิดอะไรขึ้นเท่าไหร่เพราะนักเรียนเขาบอกว่าพอครูปล่อยเวลาให้นักเรียนอ่านครูก็เดินออกไปข้างนอกไปคุยกันไปทานกาแฟไปอะไรใช่ไหมคะแทนจะนั่งอ่านพร้อมนักเรียนซึ่งตรงนี้สำคัญมากถ้าเราเอาหนังสือที่เราเนี่ยที่เราชอบนะคะหนังสือภาษาอังกฤษเนี่ยให้นักเรียนดูเขาก็จะเห็นว่านะครูก็รักอ่านเหมือนกันนะคะแล้วก็อีกอันนึงนะคะถึงกิจกรรมให้นักเรียนเมื่ออ่านหนังสือแล้วก็มาวาดใช่ไหมมาสรุปนะคะหนังสือนั้นเกี่ยวกับอะไรหรือว่าชอบเพราะอะไรแล้วก็มีการวาดภาพประกอบตรงนั้นก็เป็นกิจกรรมดีมากๆเขาก็นักเรียนก็ได้ใส่ความคิดสร้างสรรค์ไม่ใช่จินตนาการเพราะว่าเขาทำจากหนังสือของที่เขาอ่านนะคะความคิดสร้างสรรค์ของเขาลงไปในการที่นำเสนอนะคะมีทั้งวาดรูปซึ่งสวยงามมากเลยนะคะแล้วก็อีกประการนึงคือว่าการให้นักเรียนมาจัดกิจกรรมเป็นกลุ่มนะคะอาจจะในห้องเรียนนอกห้องเรียนแล้วก็มาเล่าให้ฟังถึงเรื่องหนังสือที่อ่านนะคะมาแชร์กันว่าได้อ่านอะไรเรื่องเป็นยังไงที่ชอบยังไงนะก็เป็นสิ่งซึ่งดีมากๆเลยนะคะเป็นการตุ้นส่งเสริมการอ่านค่ะ